Welcome to this week in the world of wrestling.
Welcome to TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John, that's my cohort and commentary Ashton, and this is our Monday Night Raw review. And don't close the tab, because yes, you heard that correctly. We are back from our hiatus reviewing Monday Night Raw, and for a return show, this wasn't bad. Don't get me wrong, it had its moments where I felt myself kind of being taken out a little bit, but there were some really strong segments, some great character progression, and yes, even genuine interest in certain performers on the roster and in the Royal Rumble as a whole. I would give this, really being honest, a thumbs middle, leaning more towards a thumbs up tonight. I mean, Ashton, what'd you think of it?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the time it's going to be tough to get back into old habits, but let's start things off the right way. Usually we start these things off with a 1 out of 10 scale rating, and to me, this was a strong 7.5 show.
Yeah, I was thinking 7 while you were talking. When you mentioned rating scale, 7 was the number that instantly popped into my mind. I completely ascribe to that number.
Yeah, I feel like a majority of the episodes of Raw between our last review and this review were in between the 3 to 6 range, with a few 7s and 8s that stand out. But I probably would have given last week a 6.5 to a 7, and I'll give this week a 7, 7.5. So yeah, this was a solid show. Even before we do these recordings, I like to kind of go back and read through my notes and trying to figure out what kind of heats of the night I have, and I really struggled this time. So John, let's get into our first segment.
Yes, heat of the night, and I have got no heats of the night and no nitpicks. I mean, I have to say there were times, to use your phrase, partner, when we were talking before recording, that Raw really treaded water into that nitpick and even full-blown heat of the night territory, but they were able to avert it, as far as I could see, every single time, so I really had no big qualms with this show tonight.
Yeah, here's the thing. Was there anything outstanding on this show? You know what? I'm going to say 1 or 2 moments you could say were outstanding, but was there anything really horribly, I need to change the channel right now, kind of terrible on the show? I don't really think there was.
And I have to agree with you there. I found nothing really horribly offensive or aggravating or this and that on the show.
Yeah.
Again, there were moments where maybe I would have sighed or been taken out a little bit, but nothing really that made me just be like, oh, rage! I gotta get up here and really complain violently. So yeah, no qualms here, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And as far as nitpicks go, I do have one nitpick that doesn't even really have anything to do with the WWE, and it's more just a missed opportunity.
Okay.
Well, a very well-known musician died today, and he went by, for a period of time, he had an alter ego, Ziggy Stardust, and Stardust lost a match tonight. So I just feel like that's a missed opportunity to pay an homage to a late person who just passed today, actually.
Yeah, I mean, if I had any nitpicks, but then again, I think I understood more why they didn't do it. It was kind of a conflict for me. I was surprised that Raw didn't even make any teases about,
David
the
Bowie.
Bullet Club. Or not David Bowie, I was going to say the Bullet Club, actually, because I know WWE.com even ran an article, I think, the 10 people that could be, joining.
I don't think they're going to do anything like that. I think if they're going to have anything Bullet Club related, obviously they don't own the rights to Bullet Club. That's still owned by New Japan. I know that there was a rumor that came out that WWE bought the rights to the Bullet Club, but that was a really shitty rumor started by a really shitty t-shirt designer. And if anything, it'll be the Balor Club. I think we know that. I'm pretty sure that the WWE actually does own the rights to that term now.
Yes, they do.
So if anything, it'll be that. And even beyond that, Nakamura won't be involved, and I doubt AJ Styles will be involved. So if they do a Balor Club, it'll probably just be Finn, Anderson, and Gallows. So I'm guessing that they're probably going to either A, hold off until after WrestleMania, do that, or B, just start it in NXT and then bring those 3 up to the main roster after WrestleMania.
Right, I would agree with that, because really I would say to myself later that I think they're just, building the hype through social media, through the, the internet, but as far as TV goes, that's when the finished product's going to unveil itself.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, that's fine with me. Anything else you want to go over in this segment?
No, like I said, really just a missed opportunity. You had, the Ziggy Stardust character passing away today, and Stardust was on TV and in a match, I just didn't understand why they would have him lose. And to all people, he lost to Titus O'Neil.
I have my fair share to say about that later, because, guys, I actually took notes on this show as well, so that's a first, starting off the new year the right way. But we'll get into that match in a little bit. For now, though, I guess if you have nothing else to say, let us get right into...
Oh, and also, by the way, if Michael Cole ever says the Ambrose Asylum is open for business, I'm going to drive to his house and punch him in the face.
You should probably just do that anyway. I'm just glad you're giving yourself some reason, though, to do it, because... my goodness, Raw commentary is still pretty blah from where I'm sitting. However,
can we just make Raw commentary a perpetual heat of the night until it gets better?
We might as well, because SmackDown stepped its game up this past Thursday.
It really did. Mauro Ranallo is great. Jerry Lawler is even starting to turn heel a little bit, and it's pretty awesome. I mean, folks, we're not joking when we say that Mauro Ranallo and this kind of new feel. And here's another thing too that I feel like is worth pointing out. An angle started on SmackDown and finished on Raw.
Yes, I like that too. I like that sense. I mean,
I say finished, but that's a loose term because it's continuing on SmackDown.
Right.
So SmackDown. It feels important again. I'm pretty sure we're going to go back to doing SmackDown TWitWows, especially now with Mauro Ranallo on the booth. He makes it so much more enjoyable to watch. And I mean, like I said, Lawler kind of playing up some heel mannerisms. And Saxton is just an amazing chameleon who can do whatever the hell you want him to do.
I mean, SmackDown, really, to be fair, it was two programs, actually, that have, seen, Raw and SmackDown development and then, back on Raw. So it's been great, to really see that these shows now have a greater, cohesion rather than SmackDown just being kind of like a dust heap for Raw's, after scraps or their recaps or whatever. With that said, let us get right into our Monday Night Raw review, and we open up the show, first of all, with a recap of the previous week of Roman Reigns overcoming those odds, Vince McMahon, a special guest referee, in his title match with Sheamus, and of course the announcement that after he prevailed, he would be defending the title again in the Royal Rumble match itself. When we get to the actual show,
the roster.
The Raw roster on the stage as Vince McMahon and Stephanie come out, dancing and doing their own little, walks, their swagger, two Vinces.
I mean, let's just be real, John. These two were jovial coming out.
Yeah, they were.
They were so psyched. They looked like they just won the $1.3 billion lottery, Michael.
Oh my God, I could punch him in the larynx. But, these two.
He actually said something about that. When Roman's music hit here, JBL actually said, Roman's got a better chance of winning the $1.3 billion lottery than he does of winning his title at Royal Rumble, Michael.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, I caught that and I face-palmed accordingly. But yeah, what I said here was, not a bad opening segment. The best moments to me in this were Vince and Steph acknowledging the New Day, and then Bray Wyatt cutting in. The latter moment actually gave me goosebumps.
That was so cool, but it could have been so much cooler. Literally just, okay, Wyatt jump scare. They're chilling out, standing on the announcer's desk, which was great. And Wyatt's just it's like I always say, anyone but you, Roman, anyone but you. And they just no sell it. Okay, the Wyatts are here, whatever, let's move on. What? You're not going to say anything? They're not going to do anything? I wanted more from this.
It's funny because I said here, in my notes, a moment like this really makes me wish that Bray and the family were more dominant and credible at this point in time, because you get a moment like an entity like that, like the Wyatt family, interrupting an entity like Vince McMahon, that should be a genuine TV moment that you kind of lean forward in your chair and really give full attention. And again, it gave me goosebumps, but then when it's just reaffirming, anybody but you, Roman, siding with the authority figure, which, they're heels, I get it.
Dude,
but
here's the crazy thing, and I'm actually considering making a video, hype package based on this. I am convinced that the Wyatt family have been working for the authority the entire time that they've been on the main roster.
And we've talked about this before. I mean, this is a theory of yours that should be well known, not only by me, but by some of our listeners. I don't think this is the first time we visited this conversation, for some time.
And this is one of my few crazy fan theories that hasn't been debunked yet.
Yeah, I mean, because, I mean, they certainly didn't take offense to the interruption. These are the McMahons. I mean, they take offense at somebody even, like, sneezing wrong if they're talking or doing
Yeah,
something.
literally, Vince McMahon hates sneezing because it's something he can't control.
Exactly. So, you look at the Wyatt family cutting in as they did, and they don't show anger or agitation. They're just like, okay, they're a bit perplexed, if anything,
Yeah.
and they're just like, okay. And I just felt like, man, a moment like that, first of all, to your point, could have been so much more because of everything going for it. And if only the Wyatts were more credible. I mean, there was actually something announced later in the show that admittedly did annoy me a little bit, but we'll get into that a little later. And I'm just thinking, man, I wish they were in a better spot because that should have been so much more of an epic moment than just kind of a throwaway, oh, look, this happened kind of thing.
Yep.
Roman comes out, he pretty much poses the question, well, what if I win? Stephanie throws her head back and laughs. And, Vince says we've actually talked about that possibility, but rather than answering the question, he proceeds to announce that they're going to do, like, for the first time ever, a concept called a one versus all matchup. And, I mean, what I said here was Roman did fine because his talking was kept very minimal, which I think was, good for him and the type of champion and character that I think he should be. And, yeah, just stacking the deck once again for Roman to just knock it down. So, really nothing to say there. I think this opening segment served its purpose to lay the groundwork for the rest of the show. I had no complaints, and again, the New Day acknowledgement by Vince and Steph and the Bray Wyatt cut-in, I think were the best parts of this segment for me.
Yeah, I don't really have anything overly glowing to say about this segment, but I do like the way that it transitioned into the next segment because obviously, Vince talked about this one versus all match, and he was like, oh, maybe Roman, you'll have to go against your brother, Dean Ambrose. And then he's like, but wait, no, that's not going to happen because Dean, you're in a match tonight, and actually, your match is next. And then Sheamus attacks him from behind. And Vince is like, and it's against Sheamus. So that was a really cool way to transition from that opening talking segment into match number one, Dean Ambrose versus Sheamus, which, I mean, here's the thing. I don't necessarily like that it was a double disqualification, but if you're going to want these guys to continue feuding, I'm not going to complain because they had a great match together.
And I said the same thing, more or less. I mean, what I have here is I said, it was a solid match. They had some really great spots here. Like, one of my favorite spots was when Sheamus pretty much suplexed Ambrose, like did a Falcon's arrow almost to Ambrose on the announce table. And they had another great moment where Ambrose, he tried to go for the rebound lariat. Sheamus ducked it, but Ambrose caught him and did like a neck breaker. I like that sequence because the rebound lariat wasn't so telegraphed.
Yeah, Ambrose needs to come up with a bunch of stuff to counter people that know that the rebound lariat's coming and duck it. Like, just see that coming and figure out how to counters.
I will say, and now this is just my personal opinion, and this is like a weird, I wouldn't say observation, but just kind of opinion I formed watching this match. I really do think Ambrose is a perfect fit for the Intercontinental Championship at present. There's something about him that is almost like, to me, like Ricky the Dragon Steamboat-esque in the sense like he's like this exciting guy, his moveset's fun, and I think he really could have fun bouts,
I think it really is kind of the workhorse element. He feels like he's on every show, and the fact that he's on every show isn't even enough to make us sick of him because he's just good, and he's just that guy who you're glad to have around.
Yeah, exactly, Ashton. I think you articulated it perfectly with the workhorse element sentiment. Now, here is my thing, though, that I said about the finish. I said, I didn't really care too much for the finish. I love Ambrose, but to me, because Sheamus just came off of a run with the world title, I think he should be looking more dominant as a heel. And the idea that Ambrose got the upper hand on him, and I said especially when he's best friends with the guy whose back is supposed to be against the wall, it doesn't do Sheamus any favors. Now, granted, I did enjoy, Owens running in after, while Sheamus is just busted open the hard way and doing his thing. But even then, really, Owens wasn't able to do much because the referees intervened. So I'm not saying it wasn't an easy night for Ambrose, but he really didn't suffer tonight as a babyface. There was really no sympathy made for him. He handled his own against the, former WWE World Heavyweight Champion and the guy that he's been going back and forth with these past few weeks. He wasn't even really able to do much damage to Ambrose tonight. Right. So,
dude, I think that this was a little bit of, this kind of segment as a whole was almost a little bit of a status shift. Like, this kind of saw Sheamus getting relegated a little bit from that upper level main event scene down to kind of like the upper mid card scene where frickin' everybody else is right now. And this might have also been serving the purpose of elevating Kevin Owens to a level above that and Dean Ambrose somewhere in between.
And I guess in the grand scheme of things, one could argue that this kind of hierarchy does make sense because let's be honest here, Sheamus only became world champion because of Money in the Bank, and we
Right.
all know that tradition. There's no need to even go into it.
Yeah.
And I know some people.
And I mean, if you think about it, who got Roman Reigns into a place vulnerable enough for Sheamus to cash in? Dean Ambrose.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a great point. And, it's surprising to me because I've been kind of hearing mixed feelings about the Ambrose-Owens feuds. I think a lot of people feel like all the elements are there, but maybe something's missing. I've personally been enjoying it. I think they're
I've
doing
been enjoying
quality work.
it too. Yeah, I mean, I guess that there's not really much of a reason for them to be feuding, but at this point, you don't really need a reason because the simple reason is Dean Ambrose is the champion. Kevin Owens wants the championship because he fights for prizes. He is a prize fighter. Like, that's his whole thing.
Oh, I've loved how
Like,
Kevin Owens has spoke about the not to cut you off. What were you saying?
No, I was just gonna say that the whole idea, like, you don't need anything personal in this feud. It just comes down to when Kevin Owens wants a championship, it becomes personal because he brings his family into everything.
Exactly. I mean,
Speaking of which, time for a cheap plug, ladies and gentlemen. We had T-shirts a hell of a long time ago that just had a simple TWitWoW logo on them, but now we have really cool T-shirts that you probably actually want to buy. Go to springtees, I believe it is, .com. Oh no, not Spring Tees, Teespring, Tee Spring.com / he's a father, damn it. And in this case, that's all one word, HESAFATHER not DAMNIT, DAMM. Yeah, we made the t-shirts. So for those of you that have been TWitWoW fans for a while, you love listening to our live reactions when John's freaking out about, because he's a father, damn it. Well, now you can rock that phrase on your body because I made a t-shirt design basically based on the very recent Kevin Owens t-shirt, the Fight Owens Fight t-shirt that WWE put out that says because he's a father on the front and then damn it with a Kevin Owens silhouette on the back. So if you have been, listening to our live reactions, you love it when John freaks out about Kevin Owens being a father, damn it. Well, here's your opportunity. I'll say you know what, rather than trying to say it again, I'm going to put the actual link to the Teespring campaign in the description.
Yeah, we have leveled up, people. I love the shirt. I hope you guys love it too. Go show your love if you love me freaking out over Kevin Owens. That t-shirt looks fabulous, and to me it would make a perfect Father's Day gift, or just a gift for anybody you know is already a father or an expectant father. So get on it, people. We would love your support. Yeah. So with that, I mean, yeah, this match was fine. I'm loving Owens' interaction with Ambrose. Really, my biggest critique I have here, I wish Ranallo was on commentary for the post-match segment instead of Cole, because man, did he make their feud on SmackDown come alive for me. But that was pretty much
is the MVP of SmackDown. And I mean, don't get me
absolutely
wrong. I think that the writers are doing a better job with making SmackDown feel important, especially with what happened on Raw tonight. But I do feel like Mauro Ranallo is the MVP of the new SmackDown right now.
Absolutely. So with that said, Ashton, you have anything else you want to say about this match?
Not the match. I loved the post-match beatdown, though. I think Kevin Owens, when he needs to be, he's so vicious, and it's compelling because, like we were even talking about, like, it feels like Sheamus has been relegated a little bit. Like, they're kind of pulling him back. They always talk about WWE doing this push-pull style of booking. Well, Sheamus got his push, and now they're pulling him back because he didn't really work as the top heel of the company. So now it really does kind of feel like they're trying Kevin Owens out in that role. And we'll even talk about Kevin Owens having a really long, literal main event match later on tonight when we get to it.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can see both Kevin Owens and Dean Ambrose, their stock is climbing. With that said, let's move on. When we come back from commercial, we have Renee standing outside a locker room door. I think it was the trainer's room.
I think it was the training room, yeah.
Yeah, trainer's room. And she says they're going to get an update on Dean Ambrose, but then Dean, comes out, and even though they're all, trying to usher him back in because you need attention. And Renee pretty much starts to ask, how Ambrose feels about just being beat down by Kevin Owens. And Ambrose pretty much says, hey, you feel that? And he has Renee, put her fingers, on his neck, feeling his pulse.
You feel that pulse? Yeah.
Yeah, you feel that pulse? That means I'm alive! And that's pretty much, what he exclaims. So,
and the fact that he is alive is bad news for Kevin Owens.
Yeah, I love that. I thought that was great. It was succinct. It was high energy. I'm telling you, to me,
that we got more than more than the usual amount of promo segments backstage tonight. I feel like lately most of our promo segments have been those really simple, like promo in a box things when people are making their entrances. So I really like that we're actually getting fleshed out segments backstage.
Yeah, I mean, looking at my notes, I think we got close to, I think like 5 or 6 of those segments tonight.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
It
really
felt,
nice.
honestly, I'm going to go ahead and say it. This Raw had almost a little bit of like an NXT feel to it if it wasn't for the fact that there was like an hour worth of Roman Reigns content in it.
Yeah, completely agree with you. And like I said, I really love this from Ambrose. It was succinct, it was high energy, and again, just further embodied for me, or further affirmed for me, that Ambrose really is the perfect Intercontinental Champion right now. I think it's just a great fit for him, and I'm still enjoying this program. Anything else you want to say about this?
As far as this promo goes, you mean? No, not really. I thought it was great. Again, really happy that we're getting more actual backstage promo segments, and the tension was real between Dean and Renee here. Dean with his shirt off, standing next to Renee, making her touch him. Like, yeah, he's drawing those lines, brother.
Yeah, Dean's pulse wasn't the only one quickening, I'm sure. First intriguing segment of the night, though, for me, because our next segment, Paul Heyman speaking with Vince and Stephanie McMahon. And, I mean, yeah, I said here it was great to see Paul again. Pretty much the whole thing was Stephanie and Vince, they were all enthused, like, Brock Lesnar's in the Royal Rumble match. And Paul was just like, yeah, that's great, but I mean, you know, you're a businessman, and I'm a businessman, and I'm going to help you out. I mean, why have Brock Lesnar in the Royal Rumble? I mean, think box office. And pretty much what Paul was angling at is Brock should bypass the Rumble and automatically be one half of the main event of WrestleMania.
Yeah,
And
so it's funny because they're basically saying, well, Heyman is basically saying, and the really crazy thing about this line of thinking is that it should be really just ridiculous, but I completely buy into the way he's thinking here. Like, I agree with him. Like, he was saying all this stuff, and I was just nodding my head like, yeah, that makes sense. The right to fight Roman Reigns, I'm sorry, the right to fight Brock Lesnar is more prestigious than winning the championship.
yes.
That's
And
basically what Paul was saying here.
And you know what I thought too? I mean, now granted, because this Rumble's different because it is for the title, but I'm thinking to myself, you know, Brock never lost the damn thing, and the last time he got a shot at it, he won that match by disqualification. If anybody deserves just a one-on-one match for that title, it is Brock Lesnar. So, oddly enough, when you look at it both in the context that Ashton just framed it and what I'm kind of asserting here, Heyman seems to be in the right. Now, of course, McMahon would never give the higher ground to anybody else, so Vince is kind of grumbling and being like, you know, Paul, we're not doing it, and you're starting to get on my nerves right now, and I just want to tell Vince to sit his old ass down, but they end up taking it, you know, to, I guess, the authorities' office. So I really enjoyed, Ashton, the tension between Heyman and the McMahons, because here I thought that Brock was going to immediately go back to being heel, be kind of like that mercenary for the authority, as he was for John Cena when he first won the title, you know, at that SummerSlam matchup. And yet here, Heyman's going at a completely different angle. So that was actually the first really intriguing segment of the night for me.
Yeah. I love too, and I don't know if you picked up on this, how protective Stephanie is of her father. Like,
yes,
dude, the fact that as soon as Vince started getting worked up a little bit, Steph was like, okay, we need to calm this down. Let's go behind closed doors and figure this out calmly. Like, she is like actually, like the character, Stephanie McMahon, is actually worried that the character, Mr. McMahon, is going to have a freaking heart attack just because Paul Heyman's kind of annoying a little bit.
Exactly. Yeah, I did notice that. Very interesting dynamic there with that relationship. Yeah, I like saying all these elements at play, and this wouldn't be the first time we'd see it either throughout the night. But with that said, is there anything else you want to say about this?
No, let's go ahead and let's talk about the next segment was a match, Stardust versus Titus O'Neil, and we kind of did touch on this briefly. We already established that Titus won. He won with Clash of the Titus, but then really, other than just the fact that they're randomly going to give Titus O'Neil a win over Stardust, and the fact that this would have been cool for Stardust to win because of Ziggy Stardust, post-match, Titus was celebrating, and he was like holding up a kid in the crowd, and the kid completely no-sold it, and it was kind of hilarious. But then Stardust attacks Titus from behind. He does the chop block, and then he grabs him and tosses him into the barricade a few times before leaving. So just, I mean, I don't really know if this really established anything, but it was still cool to kind of see Stardust get some of that heat back.
Okay, this is what I have in my notes, right? Because I said that I was conflicted about this match because I said on the one hand, it's refreshing to see Titus get 2 wins in a row because he beat Stardust last week on Raw, rather than WWE adhering to that 50-50 booking that we call them out for. And I can also appreciate to a degree this whole story because if you heard on commentary, the story is the reason why Titus has been crashing Stardust's pad and really messing with him is because he wants him to go back to being Cody Rhodes.
Right.
And I said, like, I can appreciate that, but it would be far more emotionally resonant if someone close to Cody took up that task. And I actually say in my notes, like fucking Goldust. And I said, that said, Titus, or at the very least his bark, seems over with casual crowds. And that's why I'm actually glad to see, and I can't believe I'm saying this sentence, but I am actually glad to see Titus getting more TV time because with all the injuries and knowing that you have over baby faces on tap, even by, a marginal degree, you should use all your resources at your disposal. My final point on this was I'm hoping that the beatdown by Stardust post-match, what I would love to see happen with this angle, and this does go into fantasy booking territory, I would like the story to be that as Stardust, he can't beat Titus O'Neil, but when he reverts back to Cody Rhodes, he finally gets that win over Titus.
Yeah.
And that's going to be what cinches it for him. So that's
I don't know. I don't know if they're going to do that. I'm not saying that they're not going to, but it just doesn't seem like it's in the WWE to do something that thorough.
Yeah. And again, that's why I even acknowledged, I prefaced it by saying this is fantasy booking.
Right.
But it would be nice if, because Titus's whole quest is I want him to go back to being Cody. Well, I wouldn't want that to immediately equate to him being babyface. I loved heel Cody Rhodes, even when he got the mask off initially and he was still rocking the Intercontinental title. So it would be cool if he's like, okay, maybe if I revert back to Cody Rhodes, I could get back on the winning side of things, and then he finally beats Titus. And if they do it early enough in the year, I don't know. Cody could really start turning things around. I love him as a performer, especially, with all of his characters. He puts his back in every single one. I would love to see, again, it all depends on when it happens. Timetables are everything. If they get this done fairly soon and he goes back to Cody Rhodes, honestly, he would be an early candidate for me for Money in the Bank this year. I'm not even kidding. Wow. So we'll see how the timing works out. But again, that's all purely conjecture, and I don't want to get too much into that. But yeah, an average match, and I think it served its purpose. It's just weird that it's Titus, of all people, taking up this task rather than somebody like Goldust, and I don't know how I feel about that, but at least they're telling some kind of story, or at least I hope they will, and for that reason, I can dig it.
Yeah, this was, I'm not sure where they're going with this. I definitely wouldn't complain if your idea happened, but I do like that they're at least giving these guys something to do, even if they're not going to necessarily follow up on it.
Yeah, and that's exactly where I am, dude. It's like I said, Titus, no matter how you feel about him, he does seem over. In fact, it's kind of a shame because if you turn the clock back a few years and he was younger, it might actually turn into something bigger than what we know it's going to be in the end. And of course, Stardust, I freaking love Cody Rhodes and the effort he puts into all of his gimmicks. So it's great to see these guys having a little something. Here's to hoping that it actually does work and we get Cody Rhodes back and he does finally beat Titus. And he goes on to hopefully have somewhat of a career year and get back on track. But that remains to be seen.
Honestly, at this rate, if he does go back to being Cody Rhodes, I'd be content with him just winning one of the mid-card titles, especially with how prestigious they both are now.
Oh, certainly. I wouldn't have any qualms about that. A Cody Rhodes-Dean Ambrose feud for the Intercontinental title, or Cody Rhodes...
I don't think Ambrose is still going to be holding that title by the time Cody becomes Cody again, honestly.
When do you see Cody going back to being Cody? Do you see it this year?
Here's the thing. I don't know if it's even going to be this year. We keep on kind of acting like, oh, it's going to happen with this storyline. It's going to make it happen, and it's going to be so cool, and he's going to beat Titus and that kind of stuff. I don't even know if it's going to happen at all this year or in the near future. It could be years down the line. It could never happen. He could just be Goldust 2.0 as Stardust and just stay that way.
Yeah, that's very true. That is very true. This is WWE we're talking about. There isn't always going to be a follow-through.
Yeah.
However, if there was ever going to be, I would really love for it to be this particular character, this particular storyline. Because, man, as much as I appreciate the effort of Stardust, I recognize its ceiling, and I just think Cody Rhodes is so much better than that.
Yeah.
To me, it isn't even. And see, here's the thing, too, and that's why I think enough time has gone by, because initially, it seemed like everybody wanted to go back to Cody Rhodes because, Dusty passed and this, that, and the other. Not saying that there weren't other reasons, but that seemed to become a dominant reason at one time, and I can understand Cody's... Yeah.
No, you go ahead, finish.
No, I was going to say, and I can understand Cody's reasoning of like, no, I'm not going to do that. That seems like emotionally exploitative, things like that. But
Right.
now I feel like enough time has passed. Okay, we can do this. We don't even have to emphasize the fact that you're Rhodes. In fact, honestly, that would annoy me if they did. Just go out there and be good, like we know you
Right.
are. So I'm really hoping
Yeah.
that happens this year.
To me, it wouldn't be emotionally exploitative if they turned him, or at least kept him, I guess I should say, heel, even after removing the face paint.
Yes.
Because, like, to me, I feel like Cody's best work that he's ever done, maybe as a babyface, just that, like, those last couple of moments when he supposedly lost his job during that whole angle with him and Goldust and, Orton losing their jobs to the Authority and then Dusty coming back and that kind of stuff in, I think it was 2013.
Right, yeah.
Like, that might have been the best promo work of his career, but overall, I feel like the best work of his career was when he was a heel, and more specifically, when he was the grotesque heel.
Yeah, dude, how many times would I tell you in conversation?
I know, he was the main event. I get it.
Yeah.
We've been over that so many freaking times. I'm sure our viewers are sick of hearing about it. But what I did want to say was, I think it would be really cool to see Cody Rhodes as a heel taking on Sami Zayn.
Yeah, that'd be a great matchup, and that's what I'm saying. You get him back to being Cody Rhodes, even as a heel, which again would be both of our preferences as we've established.
Yeah.
A plethora of great mid and undercard matches really open up.
Well, and really, if you look at it, WWE needs great heels now more than ever.
Yeah, definitely, dude.
I mean, granted, they need great baby faces now more than ever, too. They just need top-level stars. But, you kind of look at the openings, and maybe they're going to use this as an opportunity to give Cody a little bit of a push. Maybe this is the opportunity they needed for them to be like, listen, man, you've done great work as Stardust, but we need Cody Rhodes, and we're going to push him.
Exactly. With that said, do you have anything else you want to say about this?
No, but up next, we got an awesome congratulations to Mr. Robot for winning 2 Golden Globes. I freaking love this show. We watched it together, and it was incredible, and I wouldn't have brought it up if it wasn't such a great show and worth mentioning.
Yeah, Mr. Robot's amazing. I mean, you guys still have time to watch the first season if you have not. Absolutely incredible. Definitely very techno-savvy as well, which I know some of my friends have picked up on. Most movies and TV shows phone it in. Mr. Robot actually knows what it's talking about. So a nice little added bonus there. Congratulations to it. But in back on the Raw front, our next segment would be Chris Jericho's highlight reel with special guests The New Day. Didn't really take too many notes on this because you and I thought that something was going to go down in this segment, and it didn't. No. But ultimately, I have here that The New Day made this segment. To me, Jericho just feels so out of place in the 2016 product, especially as a babyface.
Dude, oh my god, he's such a lame dad.
He really is, dude. And you know what, to me, and this isn't...
Is MySpace still a thing? No, it's not, Jericho, but you know what else isn't a thing anymore? Asking if MySpace is still a thing.
And I don't want to take pod shots either, but I was looking at his face, and he looks tired. I mean, not saying he's not in good shape. But, I just look at him and I'm like, why are you here?
He doesn't look tired. He just looks old. He's 46 now.
Yeah, exactly. And, to me, New Day came out. They did the best they could. I still think, even when they're given crap, and I would say this is crap because to me, Jericho's stock has just really fallen again.
It really has.
I'll
say this. And that's the thing, too, is that, we had kind of an entertaining moment during the match that Jericho was involved in, but the entertainment was all coming from Xavier Woods.
Exactly. In fact, I will say one thing that I have in my notes here. I pretty much come out right again and I say Jericho was much better as a heel, blah, blah, blah. And I said, as someone who returned periodically to do bigger level programs like he did, with his babyface return in 2007 and then that big thing he did in 2012 with CM Punk. I feel like I'm suffering from an overexposure of Jericho. I liked when he had
Really?
Yeah, I mean, me personally, yes. I'm not speaking for anybody else. For
right.
me, I just feel like it's lost its potency. Jericho used to be that name. When you knew he'd come back, he'd be doing those bigger level programs to establish a guy or to service whatever.
And now
he still does that, right?
Yeah.
He still does work with those guys, which I appreciate and I always will appreciate. But it loses its potency when it's like, oh, hey, guys, I'm going back. And again, I just don't really get into him as a bit. It's awkward. It's clunky. And I don't feel it. I feel like as a guy who's 46, has done the things that he's done with, the Intercontinental title, the World title, everything. As a heel, how many young baby faces you could make just being that jaded veteran. And instead you're trying to be like this cool, connecting with the audience kind of babyface, and it doesn't work. There's just a
You
huge...
know why, though, I think he's doing what he's doing, John? It's because when you are as much of a veteran and as established and sort of that nostalgic act by now that Jericho is, it is really hard to get the crowd to go against you.
That is true.
That is fighting against the grain in the worst way, and I think Jericho is just kind of at a point where he's willing to accept that he is going to be a babyface for life.
Yeah. Usos do interrupt, and I think they lay down a challenge for the New Day that if they can beat them, they would get a future title opportunity. Jericho, intercedes and he kind of eggs the New Day on.
I was so confused here because New Day even said, there are 3 of us, there are only 2 of you, and then I went to the bathroom, and when I came back out, we were only having a 2-on-2 match. Why would the New Day intentionally be like, it's 3-on-2, and then Xavier's just like, you know what, I'm going to be polite, I'm going to step out, you guys can have your tag match. What?
And you know what? I'm glad you said that because that'll be the perfect segue right into the matchup. We get the Usos versus Big E and Kofi.
Yeah.
But Jericho is in the Usos' corner. Xavier Woods, of course, in the corner of Big E.
Did you
and
catch
Kofi.
why this was only a tag match and not 3-on-3? Did Jericho use the excuse oh, well, I'm not dressed to wrestle, and Xavier was actually down with it? Okay, I'm not going to actually, I'll pull myself out of the match so we can have a fair match. These guys are heels. Why would he do that?
I think, again, it may have had something to do, because I know on commentary after the matchup, Cole said the Usos have earned themselves a tag title opportunity. Maybe they just wanted the 2-on-2 so they can get back in contendership, so they wouldn't have even wanted Jericho to get involved. I don't know. But I did say that Jericho just felt wasted here, because his whole angle right now as a babyface is I've come back to save the WWE again, and yet you're on the sidelines when you could be competing and doing the kind of saving. Because I've always taken, whenever he uses the term saving, I think him to mean really interacting with the product, being an integral part of it. Well, you're just kind of managing these 2 guys. How is that really doing what you came here to do?
Well, and not only that, but he says he's going to save the product, and then the first feud that he has is he's going after the most entertaining thing that we've had in months.
Exactly, which, of course, in a kayfabe sense, you're not going to question, but I totally get what you mean, because, again, New Day has just consistently been the best thing about the product.
Yeah, if you're going to save Raw, go after Roman Reigns and Vince McMahon, please.
I will say, I mean, you obviously know that I'm over the Usos. I don't even have to ask how you feel about the Usos.
No.
New Day, though.
You know what, though? I will say, some of their selling tonight I thought was really well done. I don't tend to give a lot of guys credit if I don't like them, but I do give it where it's due. And to me, the Usos did a really good job of, especially Kofi. Because to me, Kofi has actually become my favorite member of the New Day, which I never, and that's another thing too, is I used to be one of those people that was Kofi, whatever, he's, mid-carder, mechanic, whatever. And now he is my favorite member of the New Day, and I freaking love him. I love his personality on Up, Up, Down, Down and everything. And just a complete 180 with me. And I thought that the Usos sold really well for both he and Big E.
I would agree with your assertions about the Usos. Kofi, I mean, you want to talk about a character that was just waiting to happen. It's almost tragic that they squandered so many years on the, fake Jamaican gimmick, because knowing that he had...
I feel like he only had that gimmick for a year. It didn't seem like it was that long.
Well, I mean, that gimmick for a year, but then just being pretty much the generic, I have really entertaining matches kind of babyface. Right. When he had this kind of personality this whole time, I think is almost tragic. But at least we're here now, and we're getting to see it in all of its glory, and it's just wonderful. I've told you, I think Xavier Woods is just amazing in his role. So animated, so involved. It's great. Big E, to me, with all of his personality and his look, is a main event waiting to happen. And when this group dissolves, and I've told you this, and when this group dissolves, if Big E doesn't elevate to the main event level, I will weep. Because this group has been amazing, and when a faction is this dominant, somebody should be elevated at the end of it. And if everybody just stays where they are, that'll be a crying shame to me.
Yeah. And Big E had a moment later on in the night that I definitely want us to talk about, too.
Yeah. And, ultimately the Usos do go over. I mean, honestly, my stream was kind of hiccuping and this and that because, as you guys know, I don't have cable. But I do know that Jericho broke Xavier's trombone. Xavier had a great meltdown over it. And I'm assuming the Usos just capitalized and they pinned one of the members of the New Day, off of Xavier having his meltdown. So Usos do get the win here.
Yeah, they did off of a distraction. But then we had a backstage segment. Stephanie McMahon and Paul Heyman talking. Vince apparently had to leave the room. He got all worked up, damn it. And Stephanie wants to negotiate. So Heyman insists that he is right, that Brock versus the Rumble winner is box office, and that's what'll make them the most money. And he's basically trying to negotiate Brock out of the Rumble match to basically try and prevent him from needing to win an over-the-top rope battle royal in order to get to main event WrestleMania. And in the meantime, Stephanie is just like, no. You see, the problem here is my father, Vince McMahon, is the chairman of the company, and he kind of owns your client's contract. So go tell him that he will compete in the Rumble match. And Paul's just like, you know what? I'll handle this for you. I'm going to do this just for you.
I love it. I love the really two big egos at play here. And again, this built on the intrigue of
I love the play of egos that we get every week, but I am really, really getting sick of the McMahons being overshadowing everything. I just feel like this whole idea that Vince and Stephanie are above everyone else really, really hurts the product as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It sucks to me that these two, and really the authority as a whole entity, is untouchable, because to me that's so counterproductive to what being a heel means.
Yeah.
Being a heel to me means being the scummiest you can possibly be until you have to be serviced with your comeuppance.
Yeah.
And then,
that's the thing. Like, Stephanie has done so much scummy, just everything. I can't even say just things and stuff, because she's just overall, even if you want to go to real life, this woman tweeted one time that philanthropy is going to be the best way to go to make money in business in 2015. She just isn't the best kind of person, and she's had literally zero comeuppance. She was supposed to have a comeuppance at SummerSlam 2014, and that match she ended up winning, and it set in motion the Bella versus Bella feud. So even then, even after all of the horrible things that she did to Brie Bella, nothing.
Yeah. And what's really most interesting here as it pertains to this segment is I didn't know if Brock was going to be, ready to go back to being heel, because to me, he's a guy, honestly, I don't even know if you could put labels on a guy like Brock Lesnar, because he's such a phenomenon, and I think people are going to be into...
Paul Heyman labeled him quite appropriately. Box office.
Exactly. And I think box office transcends, the common notions of heel or face, because everybody's going to be into what he does, regardless of how he does it. So I did enjoy this. I enjoyed the tension, but I completely agree with you about the McMahons. And again, the authority as a whole, you've got to suffer some comeuppance. And I feel like any comeuppance they have suffered by some force or storyline or, whatever, has always been rendered moot down the line.
Yeah,
so
exactly. Well, I mean, the authority at Survivor Series 2014 getting, kicked off the show, and then a month later Seth Rollins brings him back, and we have basically the playing field reset.
Exactly. Nothing ever even happened.
And I mean, I would say that Triple H, for once in his life, decided to be a good heel and actually eat a comeuppance. But even then, he was on NXT 2 nights later being like, you know what? It hurt and I'm beat up, but they would have had to put me in a grave if they wanted to keep me off this show. Dude, here's my thing. I think that the best way to go about the whole NXT thing would have been just to not even acknowledge the beatdown and treat the NXT Triple H like a completely different character than the main roster Triple H.
I completely agree with you, dude.
Especially because then on Thursday the following night, Roman Reigns was like, nobody knows where Triple H even is. What? You do realize we just saw him in London last night, right?
Exactly. When you're cross-referencing your main roster brand and your NXT brand, all this stuff, I mean, messes like this happen. So keep them separate in every conceivable way, mind you.
Right. But then the overarching theme is McMahon's never eat their comeuppance anymore. I guess, well, I shouldn't even say that, because Vince does, but he's the only one that does. Steph and Triple H are both so incredibly unwilling to be made look weak or compromised in any way whatsoever that it really hurts the product, I think. And again, I will say Triple H did a great job, getting Reigns with the beatdown, but for the most part, Steph and Triple H just refuse to look weak.
You gotta wonder how Vince feels about that, because you're absolutely right. I mean, it's just a complete disconnect between, one guy and Vince, and then, Stephanie and Triple H. Just two completely different mindsets about it. But that said, let's move on. And our next thing was JBL in the ring, announcing that he's honored, to present the very first inductee in the 2016 Hall of Fame class, Sting. And we get a Sting Hall of Fame video package, and to me, I loved it. I felt like it had great clips. It really did a great job of chronicling Sting from, the babyface in WWE to, just this kind of last guy in WCW to take on the NWO. Which was awesome. I thought the music, the score of the video was fantastic. So WWE knocked it out of the park again as far as video packages are concerned, and I'm really happy for Sting that he's the first inductee. I know somebody jokingly remarked, like, this is the first really good thing to happen to Sting since he's come to the WWE, and they may not be far off, and it's definitely well-deserved.
Yeah, and I will say, it's kind of sad to me that Sting finished his in-ring career in WWE 2-2.
Yeah.
Like, he lost to Triple H at Mania, and then he won 2 random matches back-to-back on Raw, and then he lost to Rollins.
I mean, it's like I've said so many times by now, it was freaking Sting, and you blew it.
And,
you blew it.
And not only did they blow giving him credibility, but everyone, including us, thought that they were literally only bringing him in so that he could wrestle The Undertaker in Texas. And they used him up, because now he is incapable of wrestling another match, which would have been the match against Undertaker.
Yeah, so way to go, WWE. You robbed us of one of the few dreams we had left. So kudos to you.
Yeah, as if you didn't rob it from us well enough when you didn't do it and didn't sign Sting, and because of the fact that you treated WCW like crap back in the early 2000s.
Exactly. So,
yeah, let's talk about our next segment then. The Wyatt family versus the Social Outcasts. And I'm just going to say it. I don't care what anyone says. I freaking love the Social Outcasts. Heath Slater, Adam Rose, Curtis Axel, baby. Axel Mania! And of course, Bo Dallas.
You know what, dude? I'm so glad you said that, because you and I aren't going to be the ones debating. We're on the same page here. In fact, I have in my notes, and this is where I may be a bit contentious with our audience, because I do know already some people have varying opinions. I said I found this interesting. I didn't really care so much for the fact that it was a no contest, because I liked how the match was going at first, but then Ryback soon runs in.
And we got the briefest Ryback's reunion ever.
Yes, but I love the pre-match promo that the Social Outcasts cut, pretty much, joking, having fun at the expense of the Wyatt family, and then saying they came here for a fight. So first of all, they bring the fight to the Wyatt family. Love that.
Yeah, so I mean, not only are they, entertaining, but they're ballsy too.
Exactly. Second of all, even before Ryback came in, they did try and take the fight to Braun Strowman, obviously unsuccessful. And then,
hey man, Curtis Axel was getting some offense off.
He was, but then the best part to me, even after Ryback ran out and they cleaned house, the Social Outcasts stayed, they finished the fight, they were clearly babyface because they didn't gang up on Ryback and change teams and be like, oh wait, Wyatt family really strong, let's.
How weird was that though, to see Heath Slater on the babyface team?
Heath Slater, even more like Bo Dallas to me,
being that too. Yeah, Heath Slater and Bo, both those guys have probably, well, I guess Bo was technically babyface at the very beginning of his NXT run, but it didn't last very long.
Right. Now, where I think a lot of the contention would come in is I know a lot of people would probably feel like, oh, the Wyatt family should have readily handled this.
And they did.
Should have decimated them. And in their own way they did, yeah, because Ryback evened the odds. But my thing is, I love that the Social Outcasts actually got to stand tall here. In fact, I even put the fact that they didn't get decimated and engaged the fight with the Wyatts and stayed around and stood tall makes me tentatively want to get invested in them.
Right, and if you actually look at the match before Ryback showed up, sure, the Social Outcasts were getting offense, but they were getting completely no-sold by Braun Strowman, which is the right decision in my
opinion. Yeah,
so.
To me, they handled this perfectly, dude.
Yeah,
I really had no qualms with this. And again, So perfect, in fact, that I want to put interest in the Social Outcast group now. Like, at first I'm just like, oh, this is cool for these guys, because Heath Slater, his popularity has really been rising again. He was number 8 in the top 10 for the Superstar of the Year votes, and I'm glad that, Adam Rose is getting TV time. Let's be happy for that guy, for God's sakes.
Oh, yeah, dude, it's great. To me, though, I think that the biggest question that people have is, where's Sandow?
Yeah, that's why isn't he a part of this? Yeah, and I know you and I were even talking about
part of it. Why isn't he leading this charge?
Yeah, and I even said that, dude. If you remember our conversation, I said with how good he is on the mic, he could lead this thing easily. But to be fair to Heath Slater, again, the aforementioned popularity he's been having lately, I can understand why they'd go with him too. Yep. And plus, he has the most experience with groups. I mean, Nexus, the Core, and now 3MB, and now Social Outcast.
And hey, don't take anything away from him either. He's a former multiple-time tag team champion.
Exactly. So this is Slater's bread and butter. And
Curtis Axel, former Intercontinental champion.
Exactly. And tag team champion, so
yeah, that's right. He was tag team with, what was it? Was it Otunga?
It was David freaking Otunga. Damn right. Bow tie for
never
life.
Forget Jerry Lawler burying them for having no personality on live television.
He just is jealous because he could never rock the bow tie in his natural born life. But regardless,
and
really
the sweater vest.
And the sweat, you're damn right, and the coffee mug.
And he never takes sips from coffee mugs. He's just not smug enough to pull it off.
Exactly, but really happy to see. It just felt different to me having the Social Outcast stand tall. So
it did. Well, and I think the crazy thing is that this is the Job Squad, but they're baby faces. And people always say, "Oh, well, look at the Job Squad 2.0." But to me, people tend to forget the Job Squad was actually relatively entertaining. I mean, Al Snow was great. They weren't a joke. I mean, they were a joke in that they literally called themselves a Job Squad, but they were still people enjoyed seeing them on TV. So calling it a faction, the Job Squad 2.0 or 3.0 or however many .0s, isn't really that much of an insult, other than just saying these guys lose a lot, therefore they're similar to the Job Squad. But to me, they're entertaining. So yeah, I'm cool with it. And the fact that they're faces is what makes it really different.
Definitely. I hope WWE keeps this up, dude, because again, like I said with Titus earlier, and, even with this segments we have coming up, that's another case where WWE actually did some intelligent booking. If they keep this up with the Social Outcast, you might have a really nice baby face faction. And that's another thing that sets them apart, too, is that they're baby faces, because when you look at the Wyatt Family, League of Nations, all those
saying.
Yeah. Exactly. So that makes them stand out. You could have a really nice group here. I'm not saying WrestleMania main eventers and world title winners, but that's not even what the gimmick is.
No, the whole point of the group is that they're underdogs.
Exactly. They're underdogs that are over on the internet. That's the space they're over on. Especially Slater.
I gotta tell you, I don't think Curtis Axel and Adam Rose are really over at all on the internet.
Well, it's primarily about Slater, dude, with the whole Social Outcast thing, because he had that buzz on social media. He says he trends every week, so that whole thing. But regardless, I really do hope we can get something here. But with that said, let's get to where it gets really good.
Renee Young interview with Kalisto, and
yes.
I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. First of all, I love the new Lucha Dragons shirt that just came out on WWE Shop a couple days ago. But seriously, though, you guys should probably buy our shirts instead.
Yes, absolutely.
Because he's a father, damn it.
Yes! Yes!
And then though, Kalisto, in this interview, he goes somewhere that kind of made me get a weird tingle in the pit of my stomach. Okay, where are they going with this? He brings up John Cena, and then he brings up Eddie Guerrero.
Yes, very clever. To me, to remember
referring to these guys as fighting champions, and then obviously bringing it back to Alberto Del Rio running from fights. But still, the fact that he brought up Guerrero immediately made me think okay, I get that WWE wants him to be Rey Mysterio 2.0, but this feels a little carbon copied, doesn't it?
It was interesting because I liked how, and I feel like the only reason he was able to really avert that to me was because remember what he said preceding that. He said that the U.S. title means a lot to him, this opportunity means a lot to him because it represents hard work, and Latinos, all over the country are working hard for their opportunities. And then, you bring it back to Latino Heat himself. Yeah. I like that connection. I also liked here from Kalisto's promo, he didn't get that oh, like, I know I can do it kind of thing. He only really said to Renee, his closing line was, I promise to give it my all. He didn't even promise to win. He didn't promise to do this for this person or that person. He just said, I'll give it my all. And I'm like, you know what? That's honest.
It's
That's honest.
commendable, yeah.
Yeah, it's commendable and it's honest. So I really like that. And I gotta say, and I want to say it here, because I'm sure I'll forget it when we're talking about the actual matchup. I'm just so glad to see that WWE is getting behind Kalisto as a babyface. This babyface run he's been having lately, from, the Slammies to, he had that little advancement in the WWE title tournament prior.
Yep.
He's been on a little bit of a run here, and it's just great to see. I mean, who knows, if he keeps up at this trajectory, he may be winning an award at our TWitWoW Year-End Awards for 2016. I mean, I'm just
Most
really
improved, yeah.
Yeah, most improved, or, babyface of the year, even if he keeps up at this rate. Because
interesting.
yeah, there is something there, dude, and I'm just glad that WWE finally, after us hitting them over the head with a hammer about it.
Yeah, dude, how long have we been screaming from the mountaintops how great of a star and how much money this dude can make you?
Absolutely, and, with that said, I mean, let's get right into it. Alberto Del Rio versus Kalisto, yeah.
For the U.S. title, yeah. This was... Well, and that's the thing, too, is before the match even started, Del Rio cut a promo, too. So not only did we have the backstage interview promo with Kalisto, but we had an in-ring promo here from Del Rio. So, people, I think that there was a really nice flow to this show. Del Rio got to cut a promo, so we actually got promos from both guys in this. Del Rio said, I broke John Cena. He's not going to be here tonight. He's not going to be at the Royal Rumble. He's not even going to be at WrestleMania, and it's all because of me. He took all the credit in the world, and it did a great job to make the people hate him. And the crazy thing, too, is that even after that seething promo and the great babyface promo from Kalisto, the crowd was not into this match at the beginning, which I think makes it all the better that the match itself drew the crowd in and got them behind Kalisto.
Yes, I unequivocally agree with you. I mean, really, Del Rio's promo was great. It kind of harkened me back to, he did the same thing with Edge when Edge had to retire.
Yep.
So it's a great technique to get the heat. And then Kalisto, you even mentioned to me that you saw kids doing the whole lucha thing, which was great.
The camera was showing a bunch of little groups of kids doing it.
And see, this has been our point, not just about Kalisto, but I think about babyfaces in general. When you're consistent with the booking and you give them the platform and you give them the momentum, it's gonna catch on if it's really viable. Not saying it always will, but you've got to give it the honest chance first. And I am so grateful that Kalisto's getting his honest chance. And really, the one word I would use to describe this match, especially on Del Rio's end, physical. Good God, was this match aggressive. I mean, the two spots that really stuck out to me, again on Del Rio's end, first of all, his counter to Kalisto's suicide dive, where he just throws his back into the barricade. Okay, sick. And then the inverted back suplex off the top rope, which, given Kalisto's size and everything, I felt like was a great sell. I mean, Del Rio just came in this match to just beat the ever-loving hell out of Kalisto, which I think, again, given Kalisto's stature and his kind of babyface persona, was the perfect type of booking to really drum up that sympathy for Kalisto.
Yeah, I think that worked really well, and it even comes back to what I was saying. The match wasn't hot at first, but the match made the fans care.
Exactly.
Because, you have Kalisto trying to do a suicide dive, and Del Rio just sidesteps him and throws him into the freaking barricade. Like, the fans, if they didn't care about Kalisto before, they cared about his well-being, at least, at this point.
I cared about his well-being at that point. I'm like, shit, son, are you all right?
Yeah.
And it was great.
And then it happened again in the ring, where Kalisto goes for a crossbody off the top rope, and Del Rio just walks away.
Yeah. And then you got when he tried for the Salida del Sol, and Del Rio just hangs his stomach up on the rope. Like, a lot of really physical-looking moments. Like, Kalisto, more or less, for a good bulk of this match, was ragdolled by Del Rio. But then it starts to get a little interesting, because, first of all, Del Rio misses the double stomp off the top, which, by the way, a very quick aside, since we're getting back to doing these reviews again, I really want Del Rio to either just go back to that, like, seated super kick or the cross arm breaker as a finisher, because I hate that top rope double stomp as a finisher. To me,
Why?
I just think, first of all, it takes too long to set up. It looks like it should be really easy to counter. I don't understand why exactly it's such a predicament. I just feel a disconnect. I hate the maneuver, and I just really wish he could use it like as either a mid-match maneuver or something else. But as a finisher, I'm not really feeling it.
I
But
think the only reason that I don't dislike it as a finisher is because I see a lot of people complaining like, oh, well, if that's going to be his finisher, then that implies that every match he wins is going to require somebody to go up to the top rope and fail. But that's not really the case, because even tonight, he didn't require that to happen to set it up. He actually, like we even mentioned, he hung Kalisto up on the rope, and then he picked him up from there and put him in position to do it.
And that's fair. Yeah, that's fair. I think that made it a little bit better. But still, though, I don't know, man. Just a real disconnect, I feel with it. That said, it wasn't so bad that I'm like, oh, I'm instantly out of this match. Like, no, this match was far and away the match of the night tonight.
Oh, yeah, and I don't know if you noticed, but there was actually a moment earlier on in the night where Kalisto was going to the top rope. Del Rio chopped his leg out from underneath him, and rather than Kalisto falling back into that tree of woe, Kalisto fell forward.
Yes, and I believe that was the inverted back suplex spot.
Yeah,
that I mentioned
it was
the
inverted. Yeah, exactly. The super inverted, or the inverted superplex, I guess it would be. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I like that though, because that shows that sure, Del Rio can get lucky sometimes and have people land like that, but that's not the only way that he can set up that stomp.
Exactly. And then you have Del Rio. It looked like he was going for a German or what have you, and Kalisto gets a victory roll-esque type counter, and he actually gets the 3 count.
Yep.
So
Kalisto is now 2-0 against Del Rio.
And the United States champion.
Yeah. That's worth pointing out, because that was Cena's title.
I mean, let's just go over some things here, and really, I have to give Ashton credit for this, because you had the pre-match promo from Kalisto where he invokes Eddie Guerrero and Latino pride and everything else. You have Lillian Garcia giving him this entire Spanish intro. You have this victory. He's beaten Del Rio twice now. Del Rio, a guy that commentary consistently puts over as having one of the best debut years in WWE and being a multi-time world champion. Kalisto has now beaten that man twice, and now he's the U.S. champion. All right. I'm just being honest, dude. As far as WWE goes, and I know there are many other promotions, but as far as WWE goes, for Babyface of the Year, Kalisto, he's got a lot of momentum. I'm telling, he could be one of the strongest babyfaces they produced this year. I can't believe that they've been so committed to his push, but I say that in the best way possible because I never thought it would happen. So
yeah,
really
I think my only real concern is that Alberto will somehow manage to win the title back on SmackDown, because they do have a rematch. Alberto cashing in already on SmackDown. Now, I hope Kalisto wins, but there are 2 other ways that it could go that I would be fairly disappointed in. One being some kind of a disqualification finish where it gives Del Rio another match, or 2, Del Rio wins the title back, and that would be the worst. But I would not be super surprised if WWE went there. Would you?
I wouldn't either, because I don't know how WWE would feel having a guy like Kalisto go over Del Rio 3 whole times.
Yeah, I mean, you know what they say, 1 time's a fluke, twice is a coincidence, but 3 times is a pattern. I don't know if they would want to set a pattern of Kalisto being better than Del Rio. I mean, exactly. I would love it, and it would make sense if they really want to sell those masks, but, WWE put a lot of money into Del Rio and signing him, so I don't know if they would want to make that asset look lesser than Kalisto.
To me, I could almost see, well, then again, there is the Rumble coming up, because I was going to say if Kalisto would win here, I could almost see Del Rio taking some time off, because I heard it was supposed to be a part-time deal anyway, so actually I've been waiting for Del Rio to take time off for a while.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. I didn't hear that.
I heard, now I could be wrong, obviously, you never know when a source is accurate or not. But I heard that it was a part-time deal. So actually, you know what? I'm going to go on a limb. I'm going to say that Kalisto beats Del Rio 3 whole times. Del Rio's obviously going to lose the Rumble, at least in my estimation.
Well, yeah.
And we may not see him for a while. I don't know.
I don't think he's going to miss the WrestleMania payday, though.
He's not going to miss the WrestleMania payday, but WrestleMania is in April. So if he wanted to take, maybe February off, whatever, come back in March, establish a quick program, I don't know. But
yeah,
he may go off the radar for a little bit. You don't know. So
I guess.
Great
you never know. I'm just, you know what? That's the crazy thing, though, is that I'm actually looking forward to SmackDown.
Yes, dude. Abso-freaking-lutely.
That's the crazy thing. When was the last time that we were actually able to say that? I can't even, maybe at the beginning of 2015 when they had Bryan on SmackDown?
Yeah. I really would say that was the last genuine time that SmackDown had any kind of interest. And now, given this revamp, which for the second week in a row they seem committed to because we're getting this, and even though I'm not too crazy about this matchup, we've also got a tables matchup: Dudley's versus I think Harper and Strowman. I believe. I
actually have all the SmackDown matches in a list that we can talk about later because they actually listed them. There are like 3 or 4 matches.
Okay, we'll do that later. But yeah, this is definitely the right move, having Kalisto go over. So happy for him. And I know you even mentioned, Ashton, maybe this will mean a return to U.S. Open challenges, because Kalisto's like that babyface, that kind of, go-getter. So
I really hope it does, because to me, you have Kalisto do these open challenges as an homage to John Cena, who you could even have commentary play up like Cena was the one that gave Kalisto this opportunity, because Cena wanted to challenge Del Rio, and Del Rio was like, you know what, anyone but you, and Cena was the one that endorsed Kalisto.
Exactly. So, and you know what, too, as far as the U.S. title is concerned, it's still going strong, because, I mean, if you look at it in a kayfabe sense, I mean, John Cena, enough said. Seth Rollins held it briefly, enough said. Del Rio, which in nobody's mind, he is a big deal, kayfabe-wise, was always accomplished. And now Kalisto, who has all this babyface momentum. Yep. So, great time for the U.S. title, which is still crazy to me, because that was a WCW invention, while the Intercontinental title is only now starting to fight back from underneath. But yeah, congratulations.
I bet you the WWE wishes they would have thought of the U.S. title in the first place, though, so they're just kind of adopting it as their own.
Yeah, probably. So great match of the night, and I'm hoping for just as good a match on SmackDown this Thursday, so we'll see.
Yeah, so up next we had a JoJo interview, this time with Charlotte and Ric Flair. Charlotte says that if she learned anything from Paige, it's that there is no room for sentiment in this business. And then she proceeds to basically play the victim, says to JoJo that it's almost like Becky is the villain and I'm the victim. And, it was pretty decent heel work. I thought that Charlotte did a good job of making me want to see her get beat up. And then Ric Flair comes in and ends the interview, basically.
Yeah, you know what I said? Like, to me, this was heel 101 stuff.
Yep.
Like, it wasn't a horrible promo, but she checked off the boxes. However, and I'd be remiss if I didn't say this because it was in my notes, my first line was, Charlotte still makes me cringe. Flair and Square, because she said, I beat Becky Flair and Square.
You know what, though, dude? Let's be honest. If Becky would have said something like that, we would have been praising her for being adorable. So I don't give Charlotte credit. The pun was on point.
But see, pun to me, I feel like the only reason for that is it's more of a babyface thing anyway. And if you're going to be a heel doing puns, I don't know, it should be like more dastardly, or I don't know, maybe if you have a personality like Seth where he thinks he's the funniest and smartest guy in the room.
Which he usually is.
He really is. He's so much better than everyone else. But with Charlotte, it's like, again, I won't come down too hard on her for it either, because honestly, this wasn't a bad promo, and really, I can't wait to talk about Becky later in just a few moments here. So Charlotte did her job. I won't come down hard on her for it, but I'm just like, really, are we abusing the name Flair that much that we're starting to make it puns? Like, come on now.
I like it, though. You're right, though. It is more of a babyface thing to do. Like, it makes me like, oh, Charlotte's clever, and I shouldn't think that about her. So you could...
Flair and Square. Shoot.
It's so much better to do it with Flair, though. Let's be real.
You know what? I will give you that. You slowly inched up the ladder with your bum leg with that one. So, good job there. But
speaking of bum leg, though, up next we had Brie Bella versus Charlotte that never even happened, because as Charlotte was making her entrance, Becky Lynch comes out and attacks her. And you know what? Props to the WWE for giving the Divas a beatdown segment. We get a beatdown segment, it seems like, every single week now, and it's always guys, and it usually involves Kevin Owens, Roman Reigns, or Dean Ambrose. Those are kind of the go-to beatdown guys. But no, they give it to Becky and Charlotte here, and I love that. I know we had a beatdown segment earlier with Kevin Owens and, of course, Dean Ambrose, as I mentioned, but it's cool to see the women getting this kind of segment. It's just not something WWE usually does.
I completely agree with you. I found this to be incredibly refreshing. And let me say this, too. Aside from the fact that it was a beatdown segment involving women, this was a great night for babyface Becky Lynch, because I love the fire she showed here. Her response was the perfectly appropriate, the perfectly human response that anyone would have after a dear friend betrayed them, and she gets screwed out of, the top prize in her division, because she had Charlotte beat on SmackDown, but Charlotte cheated, to retain. So I felt like Becky's response was great. I love the babyface fire she showed. And then, after the fact, when security and, referees pulled Becky Lynch off of Charlotte and they create that distance. Ric Flair's blown a gasket like only Ric Flair can, and he says, look at her, she's beat up, she's in no condition to compete, this match ain't happening, and you could thank Becky Lynch, which I think in the crowd's mind, makes Becky Lynch one of the best baby faces on the roster right now then, if that was her work.
Unless you count Bella fans who wanted to see Brie in a match.
That is true. And it'll be interesting to see, if Brie and Charlotte, they'll get their match on SmackDown maybe.
Dude,
I don't know.
this was so close to being heat of the night for me too, because already Nikki's been gone for less than a month, and already we're switching Brie over to the babyface side, and I was just so annoyed by that.
Yeah, with no rhyme or reason.
And so I'm sure that when we get a Brie Bella match that involves a heel against her, that'll probably be a heat of the night for me then. But for now, they avoided it because they didn't actually go through with the match. So congratulations, WWE, on delaying what seems to be inevitable.
Exactly. We follow that up. I mean, I just want to get right into it. JoJo interviews Becky.
This was so good. You know what, though? In between the interview and the segment, and actually, we didn't even point out, as Becky was leaving, being kind of pulled away by the referees, she has one of the lines of the night. I'm taking your championship, and I'm taking your arm.
Yes, and she kind of plays that up a little bit again here. She had so much. Well,
actually, I wasn't even done though, dude, because there was also they showed Heyman and Brock backstage talking to each other, and Brock looked all kinds of angry.
Interesting. See,
this might have been the segment where Heyman told Brock, like, hey man, they've got you by the balls with this contract, and you're going to have to be in the Rumble, so just make the best of it. They didn't actually show that, but it was kind of implied here, so I thought that was cool. But now, let's get to the promo of the night, Becky Lynch.
Yeah, Becky Lynch, so much emotion and so much fire here. She says, you know what, me and Charlotte, we promised each other that we would neither one of us would ever forsake our friendship for the sake of our careers. And, the fact that Charlotte did it, and she did what she said she was never going to do, and used her father's name, and just the fact that she's a Flair, to keep her hold on the championship and to get to where she is, and now I've got nobody, because, Paige obviously turned and now Charlotte turned, and she said, but I've got my emotions, and you know what, maybe that's enough. Maybe, feeling this way is going to be enough, because I made a woman who boasts about being genetically superior tap out. I made her tap out. I beat the Divas champion, and I'm going to make her tap out again. So I love, first of all, again, the fire, the emotion of being hurt, but then the confidence. Becky isn't shaken or anything else. If anything, she's more determined to be Divas champion, but in a way that isn't camp, in a way that isn't cheesy.
Yeah.
I love it here.
You know what, dude? I'm going to go ahead and say it. This promo felt like the quality of promo that we would have gotten on the WWE app exclusives, but they actually showed it on Raw. And for the longest time, people were saying, "Oh my God, these app exclusive promos are so good. Why don't they put them on Raw?" And that's what this felt like, and it was on Raw. So I'm very happy about this.
You and me both, dude. I even have here her and Kalisto's stock as baby faces after tonight seems to really be on the rise.
Yep.
Which is great because you need those strong baby faces in both divisions. And the idea that, Becky, I was so concerned about her when she first came in because she seemed to be the odd woman out, with Sasha doing her thing and Charlotte, of course, doing it with Flair.
Yep.
I didn't really know where Becky
Sasha is nursing a little minor injury, apparently. Charlotte is the champion, and Charlotte needs fodder, and I don't know where Paige is. Maybe she's injured too, for all we know, knowing WWE. But Becky has her opportunity, and she is, as you would say, referencing Jim Ross, she's maximizing her minutes.
Absolutely. I love it. I hope this continues. I can't wait to see where the story goes from here. And, I honestly wouldn't even mind seeing Becky Lynch win the title. Obviously, I don't think it's going to happen. But with all the momentum she's got,
I want her to win the title at Fastlane.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Because that could, then obviously Charlotte would have the rematch, and then you could have Sasha pin both of them to earn a shot, and we get a triple threat at Mania.
I was even going to say triple threat at Mania because how apropos that all three women, debuted getting their signature submissions on the opposition.
Yep.
And then they end this whole thing at WrestleMania facing each other. Full circle. It'd be perfect. All right, with that said, main event time.
Well, actually, we had the Roman entrance, but then I do want to run down the SmackDown matches that they announced.
Okay, so what do we got?
Well, you mentioned earlier the Dudleys versus the Wyatts. I didn't realize that it was a tables match, but you said that it was, so I'm going to go by your word there.
Yes.
Obviously, we had Kalisto versus Del Rio. Del Rio already cashing in his rematch clause for the U.S. title. But then we also had an interesting tag match. Neville teaming up with Ambrose to take on the team of Owens and Sheamus. I like this. This intrigues me. You're putting Neville in this match with these three kind of like borderline main event level names. I love that.
I do too. I think it's great having mix-ups like that. Owens and Sheamus seems to be an interesting team. $10 says that Owens walks out on Sheamus. It's just my gut feeling, but that should be a very fun tag match.
Oh, I hope that you're right, and I hope Neville pins Sheamus.
That would be amazing.
You know what? They could even do it as simple as like Ambrose hits the dirty deeds on Sheamus and then tags Neville in so that he can hit the red arrow just to kind of get that awesome moment for the crowd to see. And
Right.
It wouldn't take anything away from Sheamus because obviously he was, 1-on-2. You can't expect him to win. But it also makes Neville look awesome, and it makes Ambrose look awesome, and Owens is just a jerk for walking away, which helps. Like, that's the perfect way to end that match. I'm calling it right now.
Exactly. Yeah, that'd be wonderful. And then what was the fourth matchup? Because I think there was only 3 we listed, right?
Those were the only 3 that I knew of.
Okay. So, with that said, yeah, it seems like a promising SmackDown card, and I'll be interested to see where, like, stories like, again, Charlotte and Becky and all that stuff develop Thursday.
Yeah, are you down with us returning to SmackDown reviews on Thursday?
I have no qualms with that whatsoever. If our audience is up for it, yeah, I'd be game.
Absolutely, yeah, because, I'm really actually looking forward to it. And the fact that we already know 3 matches, and there's probably not going to be more than 6 on there, we already know more than half, or at least half the matches that are going to be on the card, and they look great. I mean, Dudley's Wyatt's I could do without. I mean, I could give that or take it, but I'm sure it's going to be a solid match.
Right. I'm just looking forward to Ronaldo on commentary, because even the matches that I may be, like, groaning about, he'll elevate. So.
Yeah, like, I want to hear what his perspective is on the Wyatt family, because I don't think the Wyatt family was on SmackDown this past week.
I don't think they were. You're right. Oh, man, I really hope they don't water Ronaldo. I've been telling you.
Dude, we're finally going to get a Wyatt family entrance without Michael Cole going, he calls them his Fireflies.
Oh, thank you, Morgan Freeman. But
thank Morgan Freeman. How about thank you, Mauro Ranallo, man?
Well, that too. But with that said, main event time, the 1 versus all matchup.
Roman Reigns versus, are you ready for this, John?
Yeah.
Sheamus, Alberto Del Rio, Kevin Owens, the Wyatt family, Tyler Breeze, Stardust, The New Day, and randomly, because we just need to fit some jobbers in there, the Ascension.
Yeah, this was dangerously close to skirting the line of at least nitpick for me.
Yeah, if Roman Reigns would have gone on like a tear and eliminated like 5 guys like I was expecting him to, I would have had a major problem with. Like, I was preparing my body to want to destroy something because of this match. Like what they did in like 2009 where they did Cena and Orton versus the roster and they eliminated like 8 guys before Vince came out and ended it.
Right. And for me, my big thing was, because it's a real gripe of mine, people competing twice and doing all that stuff. And I just really, it would have rubbed me the wrong way. However,
it ended up just being Roman Reigns versus Kevin Owens for like 15 minutes before the rest of the people came in and attacked Roman.
Which, great for Kevin freaking Owens, who deserves this spot.
Yeah.
Because he's freaking
That's
amazing.
what I was saying earlier, though, was like the Sheamus Ambrose match and then the Owens beatdown after, where it felt like it was elevating Owens to like that main event level. And now we see that Owens is hanging with the man right now, Roman Reigns, the guy that they're trying to make look stronger than anyone else. They went 15 minutes and there was no sign of Roman having the upper hand to the point that we thought he was going to win if they let it go any longer.
Exactly. I enjoyed this. I had the biggest smile on my face seeing Owens in this spot, taking Roman Reigns to the limit like he was. Again, I do like that the match got thrown out because everybody, pretty much got involved. Because you know what that means? Owens didn't lose.
I was so confused, too, because at first I only had, Sheamus, Del Rio, Owens, the Wyatt, Stardust, New Day, and the Ascension on my list. I didn't realize that Tyler Breeze was even out there. So when he was in the ring, I was like, what just happened? And then everyone was playing it off like it was just a normal thing. So I was like, oh, I guess I just kind of missed him in my list.
Right. So, Roman Reigns is like cleaning house with everybody. And then finally, though, the numbers game does catch up to him. Everybody swarms, beats down Reigns. Reigns even gets bro-kicked by Sheamus, who has this biggest smile on his face from being able to do that. And then the music hits. Brock Lesnar.
Yes.
And more or less, he destroys everyone. Xavier Woods is so happy to see him. He was like,
Yes, that was amazing. It's like the whole New Day, like all three of them were just like, yeah, Brock's coming out. He's on our side. He hates Roman too. Let's go, Brock. You got this, buddy. And then Brock destroys like immediately clothesline to Kofi and Xavier. And then he goes after Big E. And then I think it was Sheamus. And Sheamus kind of got the upper hand on him, but he threw him away. And then it was Del Rio. And everyone was clear from the ring. And then finally, Roman Reigns, John.
Roman Reigns getting an F5 to a nice pop, from the people.
There was a little tease, though. There was a little, he dragged Roman to the middle of the ring and he was kind of helping him up. So there was like that tease, like, oh God, are Brock and Roman going to just tear the Royal Rumble a new one and then make it come down to just the two of them and fight each other for the win to win the title and go to main event WrestleMania? But no. He was like, you know what? This guy, he might have my respect, but he's my opponent, and therefore he's going to die.
Exactly. He F5s Reigns, puts an exclamation point on it. He will be in the Rumble. Very excited about that.
And I love that commentary did that too. Like the one credit I will give commentary tonight, and it was probably just because Vince was telling him to, was, Roman comes out and destroys everyone, and there's no real implications from that until you hear commentary saying, guys, I think that this means that Brock Lesnar is officially in the Royal Rumble. And that kind of communicates to the viewer that, like, okay, yeah, this was him putting his name in the hat.
Exactly. And that's how you drive home, the show. That's how you up the network subscription. So I will commend them for that as well. It's basic business 101 to me. Yep. Roman Reigns smiles at Brock Lesnar as Brock Lesnar's on the stage. Yeah. Pretty much a throwback to their WrestleMania matchup. Reigns
I was a little uneasy about this because it's like Roman was just in a 15-minute match, and then he took like a 13-on-1 beatdown, and then he got F5'd, and he's smiling. Like, that's just such a John Cena thing to do. And if it would have been Cena, we would have been so pissed about it. But it's Roman. And he's got kind of a weird, almost like masochistic history, especially with Brock. It's like, oh, well, I haven't felt this kind of pain in a while. I'm kind of happy about that kind of thing. But then that whole masochist thing was just something that we made up to help us to enjoy Roman more.
Yeah, to kind of just reconcile just everything else. Yeah, I can understand being off-put or uneasy or whatever. To me, To me, you just got to get used to this type of booking because Roman is the man now and he is that new pet project. It's a shame that WWE doesn't really have the ingenuity and the nuance like, yet again, Lucha Underground, because I feel like a guy like Roman smiling in the face of, the pain and destruction that a person like Brock Lesnar incurs upon everybody could be a very interesting story. But it's a story that WWE is never going to tell, so I'm not even going to bother. But Brock Lesnar destroying everybody was glorious. Always great to see him on TV because, again, it just commands your attention. Stuff is going down. So to have Brock really close the show laying out everybody, I mean, what a way to drive home, that you should subscribe to the network to see Royal Rumble. I thought it was excellent and just perfect way to close the night out.
And that's the thing, too, is I'm pretty sure they only plugged the network once tonight. So a lot of people get on their case about that. But you know what? Only one time in the night, I'm down.
Yeah, one time in 3 hours. I mean, yes, please. Seriously. Yeah. With that said, do you have anything else you want to say about this, or can we get right into our next segment?
Get into it.
All right, high spots and low shots. I'm going to get right into it. My low shot is the New Day. They lose a match to the Usos. Now they have to worry about the Usos in their crosshairs for the WWE Tag Team titles. And they get destroyed by Brock Lesnar when he thought that he was initially allied with him. And even before that, I forgot the biggest travesty, Chris Jericho destroying Xavier Woods' trombone.
Yeah, I feel like I should make my low shot music because today we lost David Bowie and that trombone all in the same day.
Exactly. I mean, heart-wrenching, So there you go. But Ashton, who's your low shot?
Yeah, my low shot, I'm not going to make any kind of bones about it. It's freaking Del Rio because he cut this big promo like, oh yeah, I ended John Cena. He's gone because of me. And then he proceeds to lose his championship, which was the only remnant that he had of being better than John Cena.
Exactly. Really tough night for Mexico's greatest export, to use JBL's line there. Lost the U.S. title. His stock seems to be on a downturn. That said, I mean, I completely agree with your pick. I do have an honorary high spot on our return.
Are you really
to
sure you want to take an honorary one when I think I might have the one that you're going to give an honorary thing to?
I don't think you will. I'd be surprised if you
Okay.
did. Social Outcasts?
No, okay, good.
Yeah, don't worry. So yeah, Social Outcasts, they stood their ground. I thought it was great for them. It was different. You know, the fact that they came looking for a fight from the Wyatts, it just had a really distinct feel. High spot, easy as pie, Brock Lesnar.
Okay, good. Oh, no, I'm going
Yeah,
to get to have an honorary high spot because I had two people in mind and I was going to pick the one that you didn't. I thought you were going to pick one of the two and you didn't pick either one of the two, so I'm good.
yeah, that's adorable that you got so nervous. But yeah, Brock Lesnar, just anytime he's on TV, again, commands attention, has my full interest. He is the box office, as Paul Heyman said. He is the man. I don't even care that Reigns holds the championship because nobody does it like Brock Lesnar.
Yep.
Easy hot spot for me.
Yeah, my high spot, my honorary high spot, because I do have a high spot, but I want to give some credit to someone else. Kalisto.
Yes.
I mean, dude won the U.S. title. That's a pretty big deal these days.
Yeah, he won a
And
championship.
how good does it feel, too, to be able to say that our mid-card titles are prestigious again?
Oh, it feels amazing. Are you kidding me?
I feel like for the longest time, one of the biggest complaints we had was that the mid-card titles, the U.S. and the IC titles, meant nothing. And now, I mean, the Intercontinental title is on that fringe of being like a main event title. You know, it's being contended for by Ambrose and Kevin Owens, and Sheamus now might even be in that picture. So that's interesting. And the U.S. title, I mean, John Cena, what else do I need to say?
Exactly, dude. It's a great field. It's a great time for those titles because I feel like they've never meant more than they do right now. Again, Intercontinental Championship's starting to get up there, and U.S. title's been that way for really some time. I mean, most of last year,
About 8
certainly.
months, I'd say.
So,
yeah.
So, great stuff there. But you said your high spot's Kalisto, but who did you want to give your honorary nod
No,
to?
Kalisto was my honorary high spot.
Okay, then who is your high spot?
Becky Lynch.
And I knew it. See, dude, here's the thing. I knew I was going to be okay with my picks because I thought you'd actually be surprised that I didn't pick Kalisto and Becky, but I knew you would. And yeah, Becky had a career night tonight for me.
She had a great night. She had a great beatdown, beat the crap out of Charlotte, and apparently she beat Charlotte down so much that she couldn't even compete afterwards. So props to Becky for that. And then promo of the night. I've said it already, and I'll say it again. She had the best promo tonight, I think.
Oh, she was on fire. I mean, she killed it
And that's
tonight.
the word right there. That babyface fire was just oozing out of Becky Lynch tonight. It was great. And just shooting out of her fiery red hair. Yeah.
Yeah, I freaking loved it, dude. So with that said, I mean, I completely agree unequivocally with your picks. You want to move on to our next segment?
I think I do.
Raw request. I'm going to go first because I actually got it done preemptively. My Raw request is keep giving undercard guys like Titus and the Outcast TV time. I say it may be off-putting at first, but long-term it'll do a lot of good. And you can already see the groundwork. I mean, Titus is over with the fans. And again, even if you don't want to say that Titus is over, you at least have to concede that the bark that he does is. So he has one component that's over. And the Outcast had a very interesting TV moment tonight that I would like to see WWE build upon. Build your undercard in this moment. With this dearth of talent and this litany of injuries, you need to rely on every resource that you have at your disposal. And WWE seemed to show that kind of foresight by giving exposure to the likes of Titus and the Outcast tonight. This is a trend I don't want to see stop even when the injuries go away. You know, you need a strong undercard. That's your foundation for everything else to kind of rise up to that greater prominence. So, yeah, that's my Raw request.
I like that. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of Titus O'Neil, but I can still dig that you're looking for something.
Exactly. I'm not a big fan either. You know that, but I'm trying to pull a Triple H in a way and just see the value in anything. So, yeah.
All right. My Raw request is, first of all, it's kind of, dependent on Kalisto retaining against Alberto Del Rio for the U.S. title on Thursday. But assuming that happens, my Raw request is to get Kalisto to do U.S. Open challenges.
Yes, dude. Completely agree.
It's really the simplest Raw request I've had, I would say, in a while, but it's been a while already since we've actually done a Raw request, so I can't, make that qualifier. So I'm just going to say it's been a really long time since I've had this simple and comprehensive of a Raw request. Just Kalisto, bring back the U.S. Open challenges, please. There was a comment in there somewhere, I promise.
Yeah, I would readily co-sign onto that. That is perfect. I would love to see it. Could be some quality matches too, given how Cody
Oh
still works
yeah,
with the work.
absolutely, dude. Well, hey man, I think this is the end of our first Raw review back since August.
Well, we do have, if you have something for me, one more segment because I
No,
haven't
we
forgotten.
don't, John. We
No,
don't have another segment because 30-second hot seat, I don't know if you guys remember, is SmackDown exclusive.
that's right. And since SmackDown's coming back, that means we go back to the status quo of,
That's right.
yeah. So I'm free tonight.
You
Yes!
are. Raw Request is Raw exclusive. SmackDown is 30-second hot seat. And the only reason we stopped doing it that way is because we stopped reviewing SmackDown, so we just kind of adopted 30-second hot seat on Raw. But now that we're doing both, we can go back to home.
I can go back to my default conditioning. Wow, the universe really is treating me great. So, with that said, guys, I mean, hey, Kevin Owens main evented tonight, and I know you guys would love to sport one of our Kevin Owens t-shirts of He's a Father, damn it, when he main events again, which you know will be inevitable, so please get our t-shirt. But with that said, this has been Raw. This has been TWitWoW. The best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John. That's my cohort and commentary, Ashton. Guys, be sure to comment and subscribe on YouTube. Ashton, what question do you have for our subscribers this week?
Well, normally, John, I have a question regarding the show this week, but it's been so long since we've done one of these. I need a little help from our subscribers when it comes to torturing you. So if you guys really want to see John squirm on Thursday, give me some ideas for what our 30-second hot seat should be.
Yeah, I mean, I actually encourage that. I am a reprehensible human being on here. I probably have a comeuppance coming. So use your imaginations, kids. Come up with the best questions you can, and I will be happy to answer whatever Ashton chooses. Be sure to take the conversation over to Pweetoff. That is Pro Wrestling is taking over Facebook. An amazing pro wrestling group. They have a Raw thread every Monday. Sometimes some really great activity happens there. But I get it. If you're not one for just limitless notifications and all this stuff and you want a quieter, more intimate space, Ashton has created a TWitWoW subreddit. There you will find all of our content, including our newly returned, Raw TWitWoW reviews. And you'll be able to start threads yourself, inquiring about all things pro wrestling for Ashton and I and all members of the TWitWoW subreddit community to take part in. So get on that. And guys, we will see you again for our NXT review where we start down the road again. What awaits the likes of Bayley, Demon Balor, and the Mechanics? Only time will tell. So until then, tune in and peace out.